What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and this is the no hype analysis of The Dawning, the next live event hitting Destiny December 13th. Now, the purpose of this video is really just to assess the revealed content of The Dawning at face value and discuss its likely impact on Destiny. Funny enough, I did a no-hype analysis for the Rise of Iron before it ever came up and brought up a lot of tough issues, like the fact that there were no new weapon perks, no new gun types, no new damage archetypes, no real new activities other than the raid and perhaps Archon's Forge. All of these things may lead to the Rise of Iron getting kind of stale, kind of fast. And I actually took a lot of hate for that video. A lot of people in the comment section getting really upset that I dared go against the Destiny hype. And yet, ironically, those same people are now in the comment section saying that the Rise of Iron was trash and Destiny is dead. So, I'm not trying to be purely negative in this video. That's not the point. We're not buying into the Destiny is dead, everything is terrible rhetoric. But we're also trying to avoid the complete hype, don't ask any difficult questions rhetoric as well. There is a happy median to which I strive for. And if you guys appreciate that and enjoy this video, I really hope you take the time to support it by liking and especially sharing. Hopefully we can get Bungie to answer some of the tough questions we're bringing up in today's video. But first things first, let's analyze the weapons and armor being added. This is very important because it's something that is key that they're showing off, and it's also something key to the game. It's key to Destiny. No matter what you play, whether it's PvP, like you love PvP, that's your shit, you log on every day, whip out your Matter 64 and go to town, or you love PvE, you do the raids, you try to do the raids with like less than the amount of people it recommends, you try to two-man access, whatever you're doing, pretty much the motivating factor behind everything, the factor in the back of most people's minds is loot, right? You're trying to get those god rolls. You'd like to get the god roll Matter 64 or the god roll Saladin's Vigil or the god roll whatever, and a lot of the time that's the reason behind what we're doing in Destiny. I mean, why else do Shiro bounties? I'm sure a lot of us here do Shiro bounties, but why do we do them? For the loot. And so adding more loot is extremely important. It's basically giving people another reason to play, more things to go for. And the fact that they're adding 3 quote new unquote exotic weapons is good. Now, yes, that quote is kind of a downside. It is unfortunate that the only new exotics are, again, they're not even really that new. We get an Icebreaker brought back from year 1, and we get a Void Lord and a Solar Lord. With that being said, the Icebreaker has been missing from the game for a very, very long time. Well, I shouldn't say missing from the game. I still have mine. I can still use mine. But a lot of people got Destiny after the Taken King. Never really had a chance to go and utilize the Icebreaker properly. So adding the Icebreaker is, for a lot of people, really like adding a completely new exotic. And the Icebreaker is very good. As long as they haven't changed it drastically, it's going to be quite the addition to Destiny, and it's really going to vary up people's loadouts. The Icebreaker is going to be an actual consideration now, hopefully competing with stuff like the Galahorn, like the Sleeper Simulant, when you're deciding what to run in, a hard mode raid setup. So that's all good news. The Void and Solar Lord, again, those aren't very new. It's the Thunderlord, but a different element. However, these different elements do matter a lot. Like, if you're playing Void Burn, the Thunderlord is trash. But the Void Lord will be very good. And a lot of people are complaining that they really aren't that new, and I totally understand that. I wish Bungie had taken the time to design an entirely new exotic like we saw with the Zen Meteor in the April update. But with all that being said, I think this is still positive. Adding 3 more exotics into the loot table, even if they aren't really technically new, they are still gonna give people that reason to play I was talking about earlier. So I think this is a very good thing. A tough question, however, is what about legendary weapons? What about other weapons in the loot table? Are the 3 remade strikes with the Nexus, the Will of Crota, and the Shadow Thief, are those also getting new strike exclusive loot? That is going to be a huge factor. on replayability. If the Nexus is getting a completely new weapon that we've never seen before and it's in as a strike exclusive loot piece, and also I would hope an armor piece as well, that's kind of the standard for strike exclusive loot, that's great. Now you have a reason to spend your skeleton keys in the Nexus. You have another weapon to go for. And if it rolls randomly, we could have another Imago loop on our hand. Like, people spend a lot of time trying to farm that weapon. The Grasp of Malak as well. Again, it's another reason to play. And if we don't have that, if we don't have strike exclusive loot coming with these remade strikes, or if it's just a duplicate, if the Nexus drops, the Imago loop, for example, if the Nexus also drops that weapon, that's not going to be that special, and that's really not going to help with replayability. So that's something I would really like to know. Is the only new weapons being added these 3 exotic weapons? Or are we also getting a bunch of new or potentially remade legendaries as well? There's still a lot of legendary weapons that came in Vanilla Destiny, in the Dark Below, in the House of Wolves, that haven't yet been upgraded into the current light level system. And bringing those back would be a great addition. It would have the same effect as bringing back stuff like the LDR and other desirable weapons and adding them into the Vanguard and Crucible Quartermaster loot tables. Like, doing that in the April update, that was huge! People are still going after those weapons with the Quartermasters, and I would love to see that done again. They should update the Quartermaster loot tables even more so, or just update the base loot tables even more so as well. Adding new legendaries would be a huge step forward, but I haven't really seen anything specifically saying that they are or aren't doing that, and that question really needs to be answered. Because if it's just the 3 exotics, once you get those 3 exotics, boom, you're done. Your desire to play from that point forward drops off dramatically. However, some legendaries that we do know are going to be added with the Dawning is armor. They showed off a bunch of new sets of armor coming with the Dawning, and that's great. Now, unfortunately, most people don't really care that much what armor they're using. They more just care about the stats of the armor. Like, most people out there don't care if they're using the Iron Banner armor or something they got from a Sublime Engram or whatever. They just care about the stat rolls and the perk rolls on it. However, if you are a collector, you'd love to go and get those new armor sets, and that's great. I'm not complaining about that. New armor is great, and some of the sets they showed off look fantastic. However, we then have this picture here, and this is just showing off one of the new sets of armor coming with the Dawning and saying, hey, you can acquire this in Treasures of the Dawning. And that is literally just the Treasures of the Lost for this new live event. So, if you thought that this set of armor looked cool and you were looking forward to getting it in the Dawning, well, be prepared to take out your wallet, because that's the only way you can get it. Treasures of the Dawning. That is really unfortunate. Now, granted, this seems to be one of, hopefully, a few sets of armor that are going to be available through microtransactions, and we also should remember that likely there is going to be a way to obtain these microtransactionable items without spending any money. Just like in the Festival of the Lost 2016, you could complete the main quest line for Eva Levante and get some free Treasures of the Lost. Now, it was pretty minimal. I'm not trying to defend it that much, but I'm just saying we should note that there is likely going to be some ways to get some of this armor without having to pay. However, if you want the set, you're likely going to have to actually buy some Treasures of the Dawning. And again, that's very unfortunate. That's something I didn't expect. I didn't think actual sets of armor would be microtransactionable items, but here you go. This is from Bungie themselves. And so, again, you gotta wonder, well, how many sets of armor are actually obtainable, and how many are just in the Treasures of the Dawning? They did say that one set of armor per character is going to be tied to the new bounty system, to which we're going to talk about in a bit, but other than that, they haven't been clear on where you're going to get this armor. Again, that is kind of limiting the amount of loot that you can get, and it also really begs the question of, okay, so you got maybe a piece or two for free of this armor, the Dawning goes away on January 3rd, and then what? Is the armor also going to go away with it because it was a microtransactionable item for a limited time event? Like, that kind of sucks that they add these new, very cool looking sets of armor that disappear. You can't get them anymore once this event goes away. I mean, that's the likely scenario. So, the degree of microtransactions in the Dawning is something we're all concerned about, especially after the debacle of Festival of the Lost 2016. The Dawning definitely doesn't look as bad, and I'm not saying it is anywhere near as bad, but clearly they are planning to ramp up microtransactions again with the Dawning, just purely selling armor. Now, moving on, we're going to discuss the new bounty system coming with the Dawning involving strike scoring. And this is going to be purely positive because I think this is a great addition to Destiny. So with the Dawning, we are of course getting strike scoring. You go forth, you play a strike. When you kill enemies, you're getting points. And you get triple kills, pentakills, whatever. Those points are going to increase more and more and more depending on your performance. That's all good stuff. Like, first and foremost, that's going to add a leaderboard, and that's going to give PvE players something to go towards, like being the #1 in the world for the amount of strikes scored on the Shield Brothers or something. That is pretty cool that we're going to have that. And again, just gives the absolute endgame players something to go towards. But the bounty system is going to be related to that. Apparently, now this was during an IGN interview, the Bungie developers were saying that it's not going to be individual. The bounties are going to be based on how your team performs. Now that can definitely be kind of annoying because I often play strikes, I just matchmake randomly. I'm sure some of you watching maybe have even run into me in the random strike playlist. And so I don't really like go out and get a team and then play strikes. You know, I'll be playing a strike and watching Netflix in the background or whatever. But making it team-based just kind of makes it so that your team can screw you over more, right? You're not in charge of your own performance. That guy who is AFK for the entire strike is going to likely negatively affect you in terms of those strike bounties. So I'm not 100% sold on that. I would like some team focus and some, individual focus. You score a certain amount of points on a strike, and then you have other bounties where your team scores it. Making them all team-oriented, which again is what the Bungie developer said, is just, it's ripe for abuse, and it's going to probably cause more problems than it is benefits for a lot of people. But even with that being said, and again, that's more of a minor complaint, the overall addition of these bounties and of this bounty system is fantastic. Just going to give people more things to do in a given week. I think the Shiro bounties were a great addition for the Rise of Iron. Again, a lot of us out there, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this video, I know I do, you do your Shiro bounties every week because they are very rewarding. I hope that these bounties being added via Zavala are as equally as rewarding, and I'm very much looking forward to be able to grab a bunch of daily bounties, play some strikes, or go to the Archon's Forge or do whatever, complete those, and then often, I kind of run out of stuff to do, but now I can go and get those strike exclusive bounties from Zavala and keep playing, like keep earning loot, keep earning experience. It does kind of suck when you do your daily bounties and you've done your Shiro bounties and you're sitting there with, nothing anymore to do. So I am very much looking forward to the strike scoring system and the accompanying bounties coming with the Dawning. I think it's a great addition. Giving people more things to do in a week is really going to keep the player base engaged, and it's going to be, so much better. The game is going to be literally in a better state than it is now with that new strike scoring system. So that's a great addition. And then we have the addition of Sparrow Racing. This is really the poster child event for the Dawning. And this edition is, overall, it's going to be quite good. You can go out, play Sparrow Racing, earn armor, earn new sparrows. You can have 4 tracks to experience instead of last year it was 2, which was pretty depressing, but this time it looks to be a lot better. Your record book apparently is going to be free this time, and the best part is that whatever you don't complete when Sparrow Racing kind of goes away on January 3rd, you can still participate in Sparrow Racing in private matches, and you can still earn progress in your record book. Like, you can still earn some of the stuff for Sparrow Racing once the Dawning is technically gone. So that's all good news. Like, that is, again, pretty good. But the thing about Sparrow Racing is that it's kind of love it or hate it. And a lot of people just didn't like Sparrow Racing, and they're kind of screwed over for this event. Now, that may be a little unfair because that applies to so many things. It applies to game types, it applies to activities. Some people like certain things, some people don't. You know, what can you do? But the thing about Sparrow Racing is that it's very centered around itself. You're earning armor that gives you benefits for Sparrow Racing. Now that makes sense, but once Sparrow Racing kind of goes away, and once your friends aren't interested in forming a massive Sparrow Racing League lobby, you're not really going to have a huge use for that armor, are you? And so, Sparrow Racing, it's going to be very fun. I think it's a great addition for that limited time frame for which it is active. Because once Sparrow Racing goes away, it really does go away. A lot of people are going to have a hard time finding a full lobby of friends willing to jump into Sparrow Racing in private matches. And you're going to have all this armor that is not applicable in pretty much anything else you do. Your Sparrow speed and turning radius and all that stuff does not matter in the raid, in Archon's Forge, in strikes, in anything else. Again, it's a very self-contained event. All the armor you're earning impacts that event, and that's really it. So once it goes away, and guys, this is just what happened last year. Once Sparrow Racing goes away, it's gone. And again, you can play it in private matches, but I really don't see that happening that much. Now, I don't want to see all doom and gloom, because I really do think this Sparrow Racing for the Dawning looks a lot better than last year's, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun to play while the Dawning is active. But again, my concern is that once the Dawning goes away, Sparrow Racing is going to go away with it, and then the Destiny community is at the danger of just, you know, screaming for the next piece of content, being bored with the game. Stuff like the addition of the exotics, like the Icebreaker, and the strike scoring system, and the bounty system, those are going to last. Those are going to be things people are going for, people are doing, well after the Dawning disappears. But with Sparrow Racing, it's likely to peter off and pretty quickly disappear as soon as the Dawning leaves. And so again, that's not great. You know, we need lasting content that you can replay, stuff that you can keep going for that god roll, whatever, for a long period of time, well after the Dawning leaves and well into 2017. And with Sparrow Racing, again, I don't think that that's necessarily going to accomplish that. And actually, it's a great time now to bring up the point of, where are you going to put all of this new stuff? Where are you going to put all of your Sparrow Racing armor? Where are you going to put all of the new Strike Bounty armor? Where are you going to put your Icebreaker? Where are you going to put all this stuff? The vault space has been an issue for quite a while now, especially after the Rise of Iron. And it's becoming more and more of an issue as time goes on. Yes, with extremely stingent vault management, you won't have a problem. And some people are always in the comment section like, I delete everything and all I keep is my Matador, so I don't know what people's problems are. But some people are collectors. I am a collector. I like, you know, getting armor sets together. I like going back into the Year 1 Prison of Elders and trying to see if I can get Year 1 weapons. It's just what I like to do. And people like me shouldn't be discouraged to do what we want to do, which is collect things. So, is anything being done for vault space in the Dawning? Well, yes and no. During an interview, Deej did say that although vault space won't be expanded for whatever bloody reason, they are looking at kiosks. Like, he specifically said, you know, someone asked about vault space and he specifically said that kiosks seem to be a better way to track your loot. You can delete stuff and then go back and, you know, you see exactly what you have, you see your collection, all that stuff. I really hope they're adding, you know, what I did a video on forever ago, which is raid kiosks, which would store all of your raid loot, and you could withdraw any raid loot you earned. That would be insanely useful. I don't want to delete my raid sidearm from the Wrath of the Machine, but if I had a raid kiosk where I could just go and get it back at any time, that would be extremely useful. Same with old Vault of Glass stuff. I do not want to delete my Fatebringer. I don't want to delete my Found Verdict. I don't want to delete the Atheon's Timepiece. Like, no way I'm going to delete that. But if I had a raid kiosk where I could go and withdraw it again, I would actually delete that stuff. You know, I would free up a ton of space in my inventory. So I really hope they add raid kiosks, but even if they just add a kiosk for Sparrow Racing. You have all of your Sparrow Racing armor that you can store there. That's going to be great, because without it, if they don't actually add any kiosks or any vault space with the Dawning, that's going to be a problem. Like, you're going to want to try to collect all of the new, especially Sparrow Racing armor, just for the sake of collecting, and just for the sake of that's going to be a lot harder to play once the Dawning goes away. But if you have no space to put it, like, that is just so bad. So, from interviews, it does seem like they're adding new kiosks to help deal with this storage crisis in Destiny. However, I would love more specific answers to the storage question. So, the Dawning. How is it going to impact Destiny? Well, I think overall it's going to be very positive. This is definitely better by a massive margin than Sparrow Racing 2015. And mainly that's due to the additions of new exotic weapons, or just more exotic weapons to go for, and the strike scoring and bounty system. Sparrow Racing also looks greatly improved, but it's likely not to last much longer after the Dawning departs us. Stuff I'd really love to know is, firstly, what about legendary weapons? What is Bungie doing in terms of legendary weapons? How many, if any, are they adding? Are the remade strikes going to get strike exclusive loot? This is stuff that really needs to be answered, because this is a huge factor in determining whether or not the Dawning will be a great lasting addition, or whether we're going to get the 3 new weapons and just be bored immediately after. We also really deserve to know the extent of microtransactions within the Dawning. Microtransactions in and of themselves are fine. Bungie's got to turn a profit somehow for this free content. I get that. But how many sets of armor are microtransactionable, and how many are just earnable in-game? That's something I'd also like to know, because if they're going to lock entire sets of armor behind microtransactions, they better also have a decent amount of armor that you can earn naturally. Those are the questions I'd like answered, and if you would too, please remember to help support this video by again liking and especially sharing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. If you guys want to see more Destiny content from me, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Also, if you want to be notified whenever I upload something new, press that little bell beside the subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.